Terrace Talk Tim Moynihan sitting in for Ivan Hurley, who's out and about tonight. Kerry FC are playing Cove Ramblers, so he asked me would I sit in, and no problem at all. Tonight in studio we have Liam Brosnan, John Kennedy and Andrew Moynihan as we look back on a very, very busy weekend for Kerry teams. Of course, Kerry making their way to an All-Ireland quarter-final where they meet Armagh next weekend. Likewise, what a brilliant win by our Kerry Miners yesterday in Cusack Park in Innis. A brilliant win over Mayo. And Kerry Camogie team won the weekend. Likewise, there was a number of hurling games here in the Garvey Super Value County Hurling Championship as well. And if you've been watching or listening to any of those games over the weekend, please do not hesitate in contacting us tonight on Terrace Talk, where you can call us on 066 7123 666, WhatsApp or text 083 300 3300. And now we can start our Monday night with a little bit of this from Saturday.
Half hour line for Kerry, that's Graham O'Sullivan. Put that up along the line, look for Shawnee O'Shea. That ball has gone out over the line. Line ball for Kerry, anxious to get on with it with Shawnee O'Shea on the far side of the field. Give the side look for David Clifford. David Clifford 5 metres in from the far side, coming in along the in line. He's trying to take on the defenders here. He's on the edge of the square. Is it a goal? Yes, it's a goal. Yes, boy. David Clifford, one thing on his mind. He won it from that sideline ball. Came in along the in line, Billy, buried into the back of the net. It's Kerry 1-2, having 2 points.
Yeah, a funny owl game, I suppose we'll call it, because that game the weekend, Kerry were very convincing in their performance in that first half and maybe the third quarter. Things happened for the Cavan side. They brought them right back into the game. At one stage it came within 4 points of us, and that's where we'll start our main focus tonight. And I'm joined, as I said, by Liam Brosnan, John Kennedy and Andrew Moynihan. Liam, going back to Saturday, a pressure week, I suppose, first in the build-up because of what happened the previous week in Tullamore, beaten and a convincing win by Meath over Kerry. Number of injuries. Kerry had to go back. That must have been a tough week in training to prepare themselves for what was to come last Saturday.
Yeah, I suppose the week behind in Kearns or inside Killarney would have been I'd say there would have been nothing held back inside the dressing room between players and management, and you could see Saturday they came out with there was more bite anyway, as we saw against Meath above Tim. There was a lot more urgency about them, and we looked a bit. We looked very heavy-legged against Meath. We were livelier, that kind of way. But I suppose hurt and fear and everything was. We'll do that too. And I thought, it was a game. I suppose we all expected to win anyway. No more like the Cavan game or the Meath game the week before. I think once you were caught once, you don't belong learning your lessons. And Kerry learned their lesson, and they went out and they did the business. I suppose decent enough first half, but there was a lot of parts of it where we'll be kind of saying it won't do for our next game.
Yeah, John Kennedy, the start, I suppose the main topic was injuries leading into, I suppose, you're looking at Diarmuid O'Connor, who we'll talk about in a second. He's probably played 2 games in the last 3 months, no different to losing Barry Dan, and I suppose Jack confirmed that during the week that Barry Dan is out for the season. Barry Dan O'Sullivan, the Dingle man, with a cruciate. Likewise, you've Paul Ganey out, Paddy Clifford waiting for him to come back. In the meantime, Tony Brosnan, hamstring injury as well. Not the start Kerry wanted in the game, John. After 2 minutes and 20 seconds, losing Diarmuid O'Connor, and it probably came from the throw-in.
Yeah, and we spoke to him. It's a balancing act with guys that have injuries. Giving them game time and maybe risking aggravating it, but a terrible blow to Diarmuid right from the throw-in, as you say. And you'd ask yourself, a guy with a suspect shoulder, why would you put him in for the throw-in? But look, it's done. You can't undo what's done now. But the minute I was behind yourself and Billy, the minute the ball went in, you could see whatever happened between himself and the Cavan midfielder. The hand was gone down and he was in trouble. Jimmy Galvin and Dr. Finnerty came in and they revisited a few minutes later, and he departed after 4 minutes. Huge blow. But what we looked for going into the game was we looked for a reaction to the Meath game, and we certainly got it. In spite of Diarmuid going off, there was pace, there was intensity, there was a focus, some great kick passing, some great scores, and I think that it was what we needed. But the game is over now, and now we're looking at the injuries, and we're facing a huge task next weekend. We need everyone, and unfortunately it looks like we won't have everyone.
Yeah, and beside you I have Andrew Moynihan, and I hope you don't mind me saying as well, I know Andrew, you'd know Andrew from Radio Kerry. He's away in college, he's following that journalistic route, and he's in placement at the moment, and we're delighted to have him, but he keeps in touch big time with what's happening in Kerry. And by the way as well, he's nephew, I have to say this, of the great Shamie Moynihan, one of the greatest footballers I think of all time. Andrew, welcome once again to Terrace Talk. Your thoughts, and you can take it from a supporter's point of view, looking at that game, especially in the first quarter last weekend or last Saturday in Fitzgerald Stadium.
Yeah, and it kind of played a similar pattern maybe to how we dispatched of Clare in the Munster final a month back. I suppose, as John said, there was a marked improvement in terms of the Meath performance. We had a lot of those players back that that can make great impacts. In particular, I thought Sean O'Shea had a brilliant first half, maybe not as efficient scoring wise, but he won a number of kickouts. I think he won 4 in the end. He got on 4 turnovers in the first half, assisted a goal and 2 points, and he was just everywhere. I think he topped the possession count for Kerry in that first half, or throughout the game. You could just see he was just ready to go. And I think even off the ball, we had brilliant pressure on Cavan in that first half, and it was just an improvement on the performance against Meath, which lacked any sort of energy. Second half, there was a bit of foot off the pedal. We do it quite a lot. The Munster semi-final against Cork, Clare, we did it too. And at our best, you can see we're a good team, but there's just a bit of a sense of fragility that is leading into next weekend. That at times we just let our foot off the pedal. Armagh or Cavan got a goal in 6 inside 8 minutes in the second half, and we had to rely on David Clifford once again just to get a third goal and just get us out of that hole and get us to the finish line.
Get us to the finish line is right, but in that first half, Liam, and we, John, you were with us in the commentary box. Kerry did everything at pace, even a few kick-outs by the Cavan keeper went out over the sideline. They didn't waste a second, fast, and it hurt Cavan because they didn't know which men to pick up, and Kerry really, it was fruitful what they got out of it.
Yeah, and I suppose, Tim, the week before against Meath, we were expecting that as well from Kerry. You want to keep the urgency up, keep the speed of the game up, because with the forwards that we have, that if we can get decent possession around it, and it'll same next week against Armagh, if we can get decent possession around the half forward line, half back line, midfield, around that area, we have the forwards that can cause a lot of trouble. And especially, look, anytime you go out in the field with David Clifford, they can say what they want about him throughout the country. He kicked 3-7 the weekend. He is something special, but you need everything clicking around him as well, because we saw above he was starved, and we keep going back to the Meath game because it's a great point to show up how things can go wrong. So when you lose in so many positions, no matter what you have, it's very hard then to get over the line. But like the lad said, big improvement, but we'll have to have a bigger improvement for this weekend coming. Myself and John had said it, I suppose, after the league. I remember sitting here and we said, if we could fast forward now to the quarterfinal. No, because we knew from there, John, really, that we weren't going to be tested, but we're going to be tested the weekend coming. And unfortunately, with the injuries we have, there's talks that Paul Gainey still won't make the weekend. Of course, Barry Dan is out, Dermot is gone. But look, we have Paddy's back, which is a good sign. Shawnee's back, and anytime you have these guys on the team, I think that you're in with a chance, which we're going to really have to open, because we haven't played 70 minutes throughout yet where we could say, geez, this Kerry team are going to be a threat. We're hitting it in splurts here and there, but I think any Kerry team that goes to Croke Park, I'm sure Kieran Donny is above an Armagh and saying, right, everyone's writing off Kerry, they're not this and they're not that, but he'll be telling them above, we're a dangerous dog when we start heading towards Croke Park and people start writing off the green and gold.
John, Liam actually queued us up nicely. Shawnee O'Shea, it was great. He wanted them all back, but it was great. He covered a lot of blades of grass in that first half, like he was falling back behind the defence, picking up ball. And I think Jack described him in post-match as the spiritual leader, that not alone when he plays well himself, his own confidence strikes, but he brings other players with him. That's what we're lacking at the minute, that we need other players like Shawnee.
Yeah, no doubt, Tim, and I think you hit the nail on the head there. Like Shawnee, we know he's a great footballer and he plays well on the ball, but I think his work rate off the ball the last day was incredible. You know, he was chasing back, turning over ball, like you said, sideline kicks, frees. He was there, he wanted it, he wanted to move the ball fast. David Clifford's first goal came from Shawnee Shea. That was urgency. We need to put down a marker here. A lesser player would have turned inside his man and kicked it over the bar. There was a ruthlessness about us in the first half. Clifford took on the cornerback, jinked in, low shot. An example to any young kid. That's it, a ground shot into the corner of the net. But it was, Shawnee was orchestrating that. And the other one we'd like to mention is Graham O'Sullivan. We have been critical of his role, to be fair. We know what he wanted to do, or what the management want him to do, but I thought he played it to perfection for the opening 35 minutes on Saturday. He was falling back around the half-back line. He was allowing Gavin White and maybe Tom O'Sullivan or Brian O'Baglick to attack, but he was involved. He wanted to be involved, and when we broke at pace, he was on the shoulder like a gazelle. He was running on the outside, he was flying, he was ravenous for it, and that was typical of Kerry for the opening 35 minutes. We hit the ground running, we were hopping, we were supporting one another, and we were ruthless, and we could have been even more ruthless, because we'll talk about it later on. We probably had another 5 or 6 clear-cut goal-scoring chances that we didn't take.
Andrew, is that fair to say that what John was on about, that the tracking back, the walking, it's not a time of the year where we start to, I suppose, implement things? We're heading out for Croke Park. We have to have, I suppose, an exact knowing of what we're going to do, but you have to have your big players, and that's what he is, the Shawnee O'Shea's, but it's just there's probably too many missing at the moment.
That's it. And you know, you're heading to Croker, you want everything to kind of be settled. We would have liked to have the 2-week break, mind you. Maybe we could have came across a team from the preliminaries and got a land in Croker in the quarter, having gone straight through. Maybe we needed that game against Cavan at the weekend just to keep going, get another test before Croker. But now we're heading in, we've just a number of injuries, not making excuses, but it does impact, I suppose, the lead in. But as you said, important players, they were firing at the weekend. David Clifford, Sean O'Shea, great to see Paddy, even the small cameo Paddy made. John mentioned it just before he went on there. He made an absolutely stunning pass. He can just bring those just glimpses of class, and if that's all he does next weekend, just a few fantastic balls up the field to his brother David, to Shawnee, maybe Dylan or Connor inside, we'd be happy with that. But we need Paddy next weekend, and everyone really back at this stage. I'll even mention Brino Bogliak. A lot of the work that he does probably gets thrown under the carpet a bit. People really don't realise it, but I noticed that the weekend. I think he got onto a couple of turnovers. He even won a kick up, but I think he's just a vital player, probably underrated in that. He was probably our most consistent player last year, but there's just a few players like that. Getting them back is crucial.
Getting them back. Can we touched it more than once since the start of this programme. Can we touch on the injuries, Liam? That we're very unlucky with the numbers. Sometimes, look, you'll always get, it's a physical game, you'll get injuries. But there's a lot happening, a lot of kind of the same injuries.
A lot of soft tissue injuries, Tim.
Yeah. What's your take on that?
Well, I suppose, look, with the last couple of the game has changed anyway. Number one, the game has got a lot faster. You know, the rules, I suppose, have a big bearing in that. But you would be scratching your head, all right, because going back in the days where you were playing a county league match 2 weeks before, or 3 weeks maybe before John would play an inter-county match, and you might be training with your club and training with the county, they wouldn't have the hamstrings. Now they're inside in a bubble, so you'll be wondering why aren't they managing it a bit more. They probably have the best of physios and all the recovery that they can, and you'll be scratching your head at times why you'll be picking up. You'll always pick up 1 or 2, but I suppose we have 5 or 6 soft tissues injuries now in the last couple of weeks. The schedule now as well is hectic, but the way the county boards are being ran at senior level, you'd be hoping that with the professionalism that's behind it, that it should be a bit better, you know. So, but the only crowd that can answer that are the crowd that are inside there. You know, we're only looking from outside in, but and we can come up with all our own theories, but you'll be wondering what would be happening inside in training. All right, that you're picking up a lot of these hamstrings and groin injuries.
John, can you elaborate on that as well? That, you know, you look at Dublin, Conor Callan is probably their main man that's out, and they, I suppose, took a gamble the weekend by not playing him. If they didn't get there'd be a lot of questions asked if they had lost to Cork, but they took the gamble, won by whatever the couple of points they did. we were forced to play Diarmuid O'Connor. The whole scenario of injuries, this is really a trial year as far as the new game is concerned, and any player that'll tell you that they're nearly looking for somebody to fall down the field to give them a break because of intensity, it's box to box. Is it a case of that you learn from this year, or some teams are probably ahead of others, that how to deal with this sort of training? There's horses for courses, and you train them in a different way, and I'm sure it's the same in relation to footballers.
Yeah, it is, Tim, and it's a learning process this year. But I think what's not going to change is the condensed season. You know, the split season,
week in, week out games,
week in, week out, and these are amateur players. Let's not forget that these are working on the Monday or the Tuesday after the game. And you know, they're not professionals. They're not inside getting rubs and getting physio and so on and so forth. You'd have to say, you look at the training. If there's so many soft tissue injuries, is it the intensity so much? Is the recovery there? Shoulders, ankles and stuff, you can't do anything about those. But it's the calves and the hamstrings and the grinds. Is this overload? Questions have to be asked, but we have got our share. I suppose Galway got them last year, right. And it cost them at the end of the day. I hope it won't cost us, because I said it last week after the Meath game, putting things into perspective, we were missing 6 first team players. We'd probably be missing 3 or 4 again the next day. Have we that strength and depth to take on? This is going to be the most intense battle and game that we've played this season, because Armagh, they're at a different level to the teams we've played. And have we the strength and depth to see out the game? The 15 will start with, fair enough, but I think the impact Armagh have and will have could be the difference.
Andrew, you're out and about, you're meeting people no different to the rest of us every day, and I suppose it's like a religion in Kerry, or Kerry football. What are people saying out there in relation to, you can call it unlucky, but what are people saying in relation to the injuries?
Yeah, I suppose, like, in terms of the year anyway, like, people are, in terms of the group stage that we got, people were unhappy. I know we lost to Meath, and that was it might come as a blip as we go further into the championship, that performance against Meath, but people were just unhappy, and a lot of people said, oh, it would have been great to be in that group 1, Dublin, Galway, Derry, Armagh, what a fantastic group to get in, just because 3 go through, 2 into a preliminary, 1 straight through, and there's a bit of jeopardy, but at the end of the day, you're getting unbelievable tests. Think about the games Galway have been through last month. Derry, Armagh, Derry obviously out in Dublin as well. These teams are getting massive tests, and meanwhile it's just not happening for Kerry, and that's kind of the consensus at the minute, that maybe just not getting these tests, albeit the Meath game, is not helping this Kerry side. We're now heading into Armagh this weekend without playing a Division 1 team so far in the championship. We had a similar group last year, Monaghan, Meath, Louth, no Division 1 team there either, so it's maybe, it's a bit of it's an uphill task for next weekend. Obviously Kerry are a different animal heading into Croker. That's, people try to look back on great days of 2009, 2006, the great quarterfinal win against Armagh that day. I even look back, maybe a couple of people had doubts in 2023 against Tyrone, and Kerry came out alive that day. So that's, you're going up in hope next weekend that we can pull out a performance, and what a great day it would be for a Kerry supporter if they can pull off a result against Armagh.
We'll talk later on about the whole Armagh thing, but I want to stick with the Cavan game. Liam, going in at half time then, you're pretty comfortable, a huge lead by Kerry. Would it go through the management's heads then that, look, we have a big one coming up next weekend, and we were all saying on the lead up to the Cavan game, if we do get through it would be Armagh. I'm not saying that the management team say, look, lads, going out, mind yourself in the second half, because you still want to put that game to bed in the third quarter. Would that be something in players' heads that they'd be watching themselves for Croke Park?
Oh, you'd have definitely would have a slight bit of it, Tim, without a doubt. But also, I suppose, with the way the game has gone, even big leads now don't last anymore. So taking off players and resting them is a big chance now to take as well. So it's probably, mentally players probably themselves might switch off a small bit.
Yeah, definitely so. And we'll take our first break of the evening, and if you want to make contact with us, you can call us on 066 71 236 WhatsApp or text 083 300 3300.
Now Cavan working all the ways around the arc once more, but now trying to slip his marker is Cormac O'Reilly. Cormac O'Reilly gone in, but his solo goes straight into the hands. Johnny O'Shea's picking a pile of balls. That's the second time he's done it. And the break is on here. Paul Murphy has it now outside the 65. Head toward the opposing 65. He gives it to Clifford. Clifford looks left, look right. Will he give it to Paul Murphy again? He will. Murphy's a chance here. He's on the 14. What's he going to do? He gives it to Clifford. Oh! Clifford! Goal by He won two, but there are more than Paul Murphy, and it came off the upright into the back of the net. Goal number 2 for Kerry, goal number 2 for David Clifford. Kerry 2-6, Cavan 2 points, 19 gone.
Yeah, David was hitting the back of the net. He could have probably have a couple of more as well. Those comments coming through to us here on Terrace Talk. Hi Tim and the lads, there's no doubt that we'll be up against it next weekend. There's way too much expected of David Clifford. He's our main scorer. He's tackling, he's getting turnovers and defending. If you took him out of the game the last 8, we'd have only 13 points. The rest of the players will have to step up in relation to scoring if we are to have any chance of winning this game. That comes from Mossy O'Leary. David will need help in the full forward line the next day. I think we have to take a chance and start Burns at 12 and push Shawnee inside with probably Tomas Kennedy as well, leaving Joe O'Connor, Burns and Graham O'Sullivan to win a lot of breaks. Another message to us. Hi Tim, nice to see you back. What do you think and your panel think about adding Tomas Kennedy to the panel late in the week, deputising for the injury Mike Breen, which in turn he couldn't start for Cairns O'Reilly's in the top of the table County League, which they narrowly lost. He's only 18 years of age and has only played a few minutes for us this year, and Cairns O'Reilly's supporter that has come from. John, what do you think of that? I suppose it's enforced with all the injuries we have, but if you look inside the Kerry panel, there's 30, maybe 34, 35 players, and suddenly we're bringing in a man that probably did his leavers. No, to me, and I comment when we were commentating, and the man didn't look out of place. He's a serious operator. What's your thoughts?
We spoke about here for the last few weeks, off the air, is there guys out there that could be brought in now? Tomas Kennedy was one of the lads we spoke about. We didn't think he would be in, but fair play to the management. You can look at it two ways. You can be critical now and say, why should he be brought in at this stage? And Rahilly has missed him yesterday in the County League. But if you turn it around, the management gave him a chance. When he came in the last day, he didn't look one bit out of place. He was very comfortable, took his option for the point, fisted over the bar, won another 2 or 3 balls. He's certainly a guy that, I suppose the one thing about a young fella coming in, there's no baggage, there's no pressure, and, you can go out and express yourself, that youthful exuberance, no expectation, and that's the beauty about youth. But it's by necessity more than anything, really. And, we're walking wounded at the moment, and if you're part of the management, I presume, and they looked and see, what can we do to improve our bench? He's the guy that they brought in, and it sends out a message to other young fellas: if you're performing, you'll get a chance, and fair play to him.
And is that, I know it's for another I suppose forum or whatever, but in Kerry, and I totally understand the Jack O'Connors of this world, no different to Eamon Fitzmaurice, I suppose there's such demands on management every other year that in Kerry we expect to be the business end of things. We expect sometimes to win All Irelands. Is there pressure on the likes of the Jack O'Connors to bring in players for the next 2 or 3 years? Now Jack's term will be up, I take it, at the end of this season, but it must be, and you've been a manager at different levels for Kerry, is there pressure then that you can go to other counties where they're building, they've won something no different to Offaly or other teams where they're building and they probably want to win a Leinster, and you're saying, you're coming in, the manager's going to be offered a 3-year contract, and what he has to do is bring those players to that level?
Yeah, first of all, any manager in Kerry that comes in with any of the teams, there's an expectation and there's a need to win the All-Ireland. Leagues and all that thing don't matter, it's the All-Ireland. If you don't win, you're deemed as a failure. But whatever it takes from a management team to win, they have to do it. And you know that we've been saying for quite some time, there are not that many players out there that have put their hand up to say, I should be inside in the squad at present. We've said that. Quite a number of new guys have been brought in. We saw in the Meath game, they're in the learning process. They're not at the level required to contest with the top teams yet, and they show that up in Tullamore. And it was a flat performance by Kerry, but you have to be patient on the other side of it. Like we're down, as I said, to repeat, 5 or 6 players. Most of them are all-stars. They're quality footballers. No team in the country can afford to do that. But we need to be patient, and the Kerry public are very demanding. It was a terrible week listening as us, Liam and myself, had discussed this. You know, everybody you met, it was doom and gloom after the defeat by Offaly, or by Meath up on Tullamore.
Are we spoilt in Kerry?
We're spoilt, and the pressure. And I said it previously. There was nobody hurting more than the management and the players. Definitely the families.
Well, no one goes out to lose.
Not at all. And you just hit a bad day, and it's we've all been there. And you just want to go away and hide and keep out of the way. But they came out the last day, and the performance improved. But the injury to Dermot again was another downer, and you could sense it coming out of Fitzgerald Stadium the last day. A win, and it's a big but. We knew what was ahead of us if the form line went to plan over the weekend, and it did go to plan. People were hoping maybe that Down would beat Galway, and we wouldn't be meeting Armagh as yet, but we are.
And that's part of it.
Just on Tomas Kennedy, what I like about it is that there should be no Kerry panel closed.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a closed shop at minor level, under 20 level, and senior level. Tomas Kennedy, for people who have gone to county league matches, have sung with under 20s, is a fantastic talent. He was flying at senior level, playing with Kerry Rallies. He was very good with the Kerry under 20s. I see no debate about bringing him in, because I think that's a big bone thing that I had with Kerry panels with the last couple of years, that especially under 20s now, I saw him now this year, and I was at a lot of county league matches between umpire and stuff like that. There was a couple of under 20 players who were actually leading their Division 1 clubs playing, and they weren't even brought in for trials. But yet, once you're inside in a Kerry setup, you're inside in this bubble, playing very little football, and then we're watching him and we're saying, sure, why isn't this fella better? He's after proving himself in county league matches. He's flying at the moment, and he's after getting his chance. There's a lot of young fellas down through the years have been brought in at a young age. I remember back in '98 when we won under 21 All Ireland. There was 4 of us playing with Kerry in the National League that time, and we were juggling between the both of them. It did us no harm whatsoever, because, like John said, you have no baggage. No. You're going in. There's no expectation. There's nothing, and you can really go at it. So I think it's a great thing for Kerry, and if I had the choice, I'd have a few more in there as well with him.
And I'd say, Tim, to be fair to Jack and the management team, they put him on. The game was won the last day. There was really no need, but this is a guy with a huge future for Kerry.
Yeah.
And he got his chance. He was put in there, and he showed, yes, I'm up to that level.
When your first touch is a point, it's always a good sign.
Yeah, but Andrew, you know as well as I do, we had these conversations in the past, no different I have with the lads as well, that there is another fear as well. Like, you could say over the last couple of years that you could have 2 or 3 each year from the Kerry under 20 panel that went into the business end of the All Ireland series. There is a fear factor as well for down under.
That's it.
That, if we talk, and let's be honest here this evening, that Tomas Kennedy is one of those players that people are talking about. We don't know, we're not au fait with what's going on in the man's life. I know he's doing his leaving cert, but there is an attraction to go to Australia to play Aussie rules. It's a huge barrier, huge obstacle for Kerry development at the moment, because all we see over the last couple of years, we've Killian Burke, we lost him last year. Before that, we had Rob Moynihan, and now, and let's be honest, the names that are thrown out, they're in the public domain at the minute. They're speaking about Killian Dennehy of Cordell, Ben Murphy of Stacks, likewise Daniel Kirby. A number of players, they were saying that the Aussies are after them. So going forward, it's very difficult for a Kerry setup that you're trying to win an All Ireland every other year and try and bring these guys up and make them part of a Kerry senior panel.
Yeah, it's upsetting. It can be hurtful, in a way that you can bring these fellas up from club, and Australia can have a look at these lads, from age 5, 6, they're down at the local club playing football, and then 18 or 19, they're swooped by Australia. What an opportunity it is for them, though, to go down a professional setup, guaranteed money, guaranteed a brilliant lifestyle, professional. They can. I even see Killian Burke is settling with Mark O'Connor down under at the minute. He seems
weather.
Yeah, great weather. Looking out the window there, I think I'd prefer the Aussie weather myself. But But this is the thing you mentioned there over the last couple of years. Who were the best under 20 players that we had coming through? It was Rob Monaghan and it was Killian Burke last year. And now out of this year's team, Tomas Kennedy was probably the standout under 20 player. There was probably one or two others. I liked Eddie Healy, Daniel Kirby, Ben Murphy, and 3 out of those 4 players I just mentioned are all apparently touted for Australia. So it can hurt as a Kerry fan. Do we suck it up and just say, this is, what an opportunity and best of luck to them? You kind of have to as well, because you have to understand it from their perspective. They can secure a lifestyle here, and just a brilliant lifestyle at that. But as you said, it's a fear, and it's hard to know what the solution is.
Yeah, very difficult, and it's going to be if Kerry next weekend, if Kerry, hopefully they'll progress and beat Armagh. That's what we're all looking for. That's why we're all going to Croke Park, and I know there's a call for supporters out there. These are very difficult times. So we have some more comments coming through to us. There might be one for Andrew in a second. I'll call it out. But hi Tim, well done to the Kerry seniors and minors who had great wins at the weekend. Would you be able to ask your listeners, please, if all possible, could they go to Croke Park this weekend to support the Kerry team? We seem to be moaning about the venue, the time, the opposition, etc. all year. I understand that it's expensive with kids and to make the trip, but would be great if you could have a big Kerry support in Croke Park next weekend. The last time we played Armagh, they outnumbered us as supporters. Come and let's make the effort and support the green and gold. And that comes from Katrina, listening in Clonbeg, Tralee. Thanks a million, Katrina. Somebody here, Andrew, it might be one for you. Who's the top scorer in Division 1 of the County League? You are our guru in the County League.
I was suggesting before the break, Jack Savage has put up a serious amount for, it seems to be a 2-pointer man.
Tomas Kennedy might be too far away from it.
Tomas, yeah, good question for you. That'll test you now, John. I know you've Asti out there weekends, and are you going to no, I'm sure they're related in all the divisions of the County League, or maybe it's Division 1 as well. Please, and this is another text, please, Kerry supporters and Kerry people anywhere in the country, come to Croke Park on Sunday. Your county needs you. And that comes from Damien in Tralee. And that's something we'll talk about when we're chatting about the build-up to the Armagh game. John, that second half, we're in and out of it because of the texts that are coming through to us, but I suppose I said it to Liam before the break that what was going through players' heads, they survived, they thought they put the Cavan side away. Suddenly you're bringing on subs, you're changing things and whatever were in the players' heads. We left Cavan right back into it.
Yeah, Joe asked me at half time the last day, Tim, what was I looking for in the second half? I said more of the same, that we'd set down a marker, we'd continue and maybe not even introduce guys only for the last maybe 10-12 minutes. Cavan, it was the total opposite. Cavan were laborious in their build up and ponderous in the first half, but they went more direct. Got a lucky enough goal from Evan Crowe, high ball in by Brady, broken side goal. Then Paddy Lynch kicked a massive 2-pointer. In the 58th minute it was down to a 4-point game. And the next play was vital. Kick out by Shane Ryan, a super fetch by Mark O'Shea in the middle of the field. Settled it. We had Paddy on at that stage. But I made notes during the game, Tim. We had a goal chance from Dylan Gainey. It was saved by Brady in the 38th minute. Sean O'Shea passed into Conor Gainey, safe at the expense of a 45. Mark O'Shea, a great block when there was a goal chance on. Graham O'Sullivan was soling through, lost possession at a vital moment, half another goal chance. David Clifford, after one of those mazy runs in the 42nd minute, saved for the 45. Goal chance by David, uncharacteristic with his right foot, it went wide. So Conor Gainey in the 53rd minute had a shot blocked. That's 6 goal scoring chances. If we got 3 of those, it was over. Now, was it we weren't as alert or as sharp in the second half that this happened? Brady was in superb form and goals for Cavan. But had we done that, it would have been an emphatic victory. If you were told we'd win by 10 points at the start, you take it. But look, we'll need to be more clinical the next day. Very difficult to keep that up for 70 minutes. The intensity which we played and the urgency and the movement in the first half, it was hard to keep it going, especially when Cavan upped their game.
Liam, are we underestimating the value of a 2-pointer? You could be down by 8 points and next thing you get a 2-pointer, and currently when teams get a 2-pointer, it's like getting a goal. You're back into you win the next kick out, they go again, maybe get a 1-pointer as we call it. But I suppose of all the rules that have come in, it has a huge impact on the result of the game.
It has made the game exciting, Tim. And like you said, you hit a 2-pointer and then there's a big squeeze on the kick out, and nearly 99% of the time they win the ball again because there's such momentum. Don't know, that kind of a way. But there's someone ringing there, Tim. I suppose that's Jack, is it?
Yeah, he texted me earlier. He's in good old form. He said everything will be alright next weekend.
But teams do really put the squeeze up then with the 2-pointer is huge, and we saw it with the minors as well yesterday. You know how important the 2-pointers are. You know, it brought Kerry back into the game with the minors. You know, so yeah, I think it's at the start when we said we didn't need them when we were getting goals. It's coming to a stage now where it's a big weapon now for teams, and we'll want a few of them next Sunday above Crow Park.
But Tim, I think that, like agreeing with Liam there, the 2 pointers David kicked in the first half, to stand there up to it, like.
Yeah.
You know,
Shawnee had one.
He was winding up for it, and you could see he went for it, and there were 2 super kicks, but the whole place was buzzing. And they're having a big impact in the game now, and we're beginning to kick them now. Earlier on in the league we weren't.
Well, if David Clifford's iconic forward, he's tied down, but he's the one player that he's going to attract a lot of, especially in Crow Park. The next, give him a bit of space, and he will plant those. Then Andrew, Paddy Clifford was called in, and it was at a time that we need him badly, just to slow down, because there was a little bit of anxiety by supporters, likewise the players, and he got a huge applause when he came on the field. He's your warrior, die hard, but he's a seriously talented footballer, and he did calm things down.
He did, and you can tell Paddy immediately inserts himself into the game whenever he comes on. Think back to the Monaghan game 2 years ago where he ran the length of the field and scored a goal in the league. He just coming off the bench, what an option you can bring off the bench. I'm sure the Cavan players weren't too happy to see him coming onto the field late on, but he'd probably be looking to start next weekend, all hoping that he's fully fit for the game. He was maybe a bit light at the start, but he definitely came into it. I mentioned a brilliant pass that he made in that game. He assisted a 2-point free, I believe, as well. I think he was fouled. What a lift he can be. He's, as everyone says, he's the glue, he's the heartbeat of the Kerry team. Probably, like, you could make a case he is our most important player. Like you think of a big three of Paddy, David and Shawnee. I'd probably put Paddy up on top there. He just makes the team tick. If you're thinking of our target man David Clifford, 7 goals and 37 points, how much more would Paddy have assisted if he was on the field for those games so far? He's only played around 90 minutes now this year, and I think he's assisted a goal and 7 points. So what an impact he can be for Kerry next weekend if he's fully fit.
Absolutely. And before we go to the next break, I'd just like to say in the second hour as well, we'll have the MKL Gales under 15s LGFA, the sole Kerry representatives at Fela. We now take the next break.
Breaking down the weekend's sporting action. This is Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry.
Shawnee O'Shea, give that ball out now. Looking again for Sean O'Brien. Give it to Graham O'Sullivan now. We're looking inside for David Clifford again. He's gone making that diagonal run. He's waving the hand, but the ball is not coming in fast enough at the moment. Graham still in control of possession. Joe Connor has it now. He'll give the fist to different side. Clifford. Joe's on his bike here. He's en route to goal. Surely a goal. Oh no, it's not. The keeper and it's broken again. But surely David Clifford has got his hat-trick from the run of Joe Connor. Eventually came off the keeper, and he's got his 3 goals. David Clifford, the go-to man once again. 59 minutes played. It's Kerry 316, Cavan 115.
Do you feel a sense of relief?
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
you have to say a sense of relief for that one.
The right man in the right place.
Joe Connor burst through. Good save again by Liam Brady. Fell to Killian Spillane. He offloaded to the incoming David Clifford, who had an empty net to hit into to complete his hat-trick. A much needed score from a Kerry band. 316 to 115. We needed that score.
We definitely needed that score, and like I say, David Clifford could have got a lot more goals, and we'll be hoping for that this coming weekend. There's comments coming through to us, and thanks for everyone contributing to tonight's programme by way of phone call, texts or WhatsApp. We have 3, maybe 4 great defenders in Kerry, but others get very highly spoken of when defending should be a priority rather than attacking. How come Shane Ryan was called up to take 45s? Shawnee doesn't seem to be kicking them from the ground recently. won't mention that comment now. It's for later. Hi Tim, I don't think Armagh have much more to offer than Kerry, as Galway scored 114 in the second half of their last qualifier, and that comes from a fan of yours probably, Liam. It's John from Corro. Hi lads, could it be a case of where the tag of the underdogs might suit Kerry this weekend? Over the past 5 years there has been games where Kerry have gone in favourites, and it seemed to put pressure on the team. Not often Kerry go into as underdogs, but it might take a bit of pressure and encourage supporters to get behind them. Hi Timmy, ask the boys to call their 4 winners next weekend. I'll do that in a while. Hi Tim, Barry here in Tralee. Love the show. I'm a Kerry true and true, but in all seriousness, and call a spade, David Clifford will be held to less the next day by Armagh. We have injuries, but our panel is not as strong at this level of the top tier of football. I can't see Kerry beating Armagh, and Cavan are a poor side, and nothing learned, that texter has sent to us. John Kennedy, finishing out the game was a priority. Get players back into the dressing room, do their warm down as we call it, back in the dressing room, and they'll be doing very little this weekend. And it's a case, I'd say every time Jack blinks now, he's afraid when he reopens that there's somebody injured.
Yeah, this week, Tim, is about, it's a focus, and it's about getting as many of the injured fellas back as we can. You know, a bit of freshness about us as we head to Croke Park. And Jack has said several times in the last number of years that Croke Park is where Kerry want to be. We're here now, and you know, it's a huge task. It's a huge game ahead of us. But every Kerry footballer in that train going up on the bus next Saturday or next Friday will know that this is it. It's the defining game of the season for the team and probably for the management. So, you know, there's an awful lot hinging on this. And like that listener said there, the underdog tag for the first time in a long time. I think Armagh will be favourites, and not a bad idea for Kerry. You know, it's a good way to go into the game.
There's no pressure.
No pressure.
But on the same time, there is pressure because you're from Kerry.
Oh,
do we put the most pressure ourselves on this county because of our tradition?
Yeah, and that has happened down the years, Tim. It's not.
I think every county. If we look at Mayo, Tim, and I suppose there's always inside pressure, but I suppose we're a bit more low down here, and there's a lot more expectation. But we've won and stuff like that. But yeah, it's. I reckon every county would be the same. Look at the Limerick Colours.
Look at them, what they're out of the All-Ireland.
Yeah, and look at the what's been said about them now as well, and also it's not nice. But
no, not at all. No, we're not.
No matter how long your run goes, there's always an end to it.
There is, yeah.
And that Limerick team, a year or two ago, the greatest hurling team of all times, and they probably were. But the end has come at the moment. You know, that freshness. That zip that you need, they didn't. Dublin with 14 men the last day, they had an energy about them that Limerick didn't have. And you know, we'll have to replicate that in Croke Park against Armagh the next day. You know, our first 30 minutes against Cavan. But we have to take it as well that this is a Cavan team that got 2 hockings against Donegal and against Tyrone.
Yeah. And they took the scalp of Mayo early on.
They took the scalp of Mayo. How they did, we'll never remember. We'll never really come to the how did they do it, because you know they showed in sports the last day what they're capable of, but they're a level or maybe 2 levels below Armagh, below most of the teams left in the championship.
Substitutions the last day, Andrew. Your thoughts on that? Like, one was he was named at number 6, wasn't he? Tomas Kennedy. Will Tomas have a part to play next weekend, do you think?
You know, it could be a trump card. I mean, I don't know, will Armagh be preparing for Tomas Kennedy this week? I don't know if Tomas, I don't see him starting next weekend, but do I see him playing a part? I think he's a dangerous player, and you know, we often talk about players maybe lacking the physicality, the strength. I think Tomas Kennedy, he's a big man, he can carry himself well. I like the way he inserted himself the last day. I think he got onto 3 balls, he won a free for Kerry, probably was fouled with another ball where he tried to pick up the ball off the ground, tried to solo it up, but probably might see a part of him. As for the other subs, you know, it'd be important to get fellas back, and you know, fellas who maybe were subs against Meath, or who are usually subs, had to start against Meath, but we're allowed to have a bit more of an impact role the last day versus Cavan. We will need as many players as we can, because this could be more than 70 minutes next weekend. There's a good chance of that. We could go the full 90 minutes extra time, and also from 1 to 26 it's going to be a huge ask for Kerry next weekend.
And they're still fighting for places because they have, big numbers inside, Liam, inside. Not sure, did Tomas Kennedy take part in that local derby yesterday, Cairns O'Reilly's?
No, he didn't, no.
Didn't play in the second half, did he?
So no.
No, yeah, I obviously we were in.
Yeah.
We were in,
I don't think so. No.
What I can gather, Tim, the players that didn't play on Saturday were released
to play County League.
That's from what I can gather now.
Okay, yeah.
But Henrik did play in a couple. But I don't know. But I would see a big part for Tomas, because if you're looking at our bench, we're missing Tony Brosnan. So all you have really on as scoring forwards, I'm looking at the programme here is Killian Spillane off the bench. Micheál Burns is there, but he's more of a workhorse. So I think Tomas will have a big play, especially when you're missing Paul Gainey. No, we're not blessed with natural scorers, and I think Tomas is a natural scorer, and I think he'd be a nice fella to bring in there at some stage in around the full forward line. No, he's a big young fella, and he knows where the goals are.
And as well as that, Liam, if they start the midfielder Joe Connor and Sean O'Brien, who plays at wing forward,
yeah.
And Mark O'Shea come in there, will Micheál Burns come back? How's Mike Breen? Will he be ready to come in at centre back? Seemingly it's a soft tissue injury again. A week, 10 days, not a lot for that. So there's a lot of question marks.
Yeah.
And those question marks, John, we still have to go to Croke Park with 26 players. Can you, outside of, we know, said this on the if about the players coming back, but if they're not available, who'll play there? Are we persistent now with Graham O'Sullivan wing forward?
I'd say we will note him, in fairness.
What kind of an injury had Graham picked up the week?
Yeah, he did go off. Was it a precaution just to take him off? Not so sure. It was at the far side from us, Tim. We weren't sure what it was. Very little was said after about it. We'd be hoping that it was just a precaution,
If Kerry had fully fledged panel available, would Graham O'Sullivan still be playing wing forward?
I think he would. I think the management have their minds made up that his role is the wing forward, coming back, link between defence and attack, using his pace and his stamina to do. And we saw to great effect for 35 minutes the last day. This is another test the next day. I think he will. I think that if Mike Breen is out, I think Tadhg Model will be 6.
That's very interesting, Andrew, because the big thing, and we've had a few texts in tonight saying take David's 3-7 out of that game, we'd have only scored 13 points. And I'm talking about the day that, and it has happened in the past, Dublin, I suppose, because things didn't happen inside for David Clifford. They've have curtailed the scoring exploits of David Clifford. So how are we going to share that load? You can do so much. And my point is, Graham O'Sullivan, to me, he's one of the best defenders we had in the last 6-7 years. Suddenly he's a wing forward, but he probably won't contribute 5 or 6 points because that's not his game, because he has to go back. And I'm looking all around the team that where are we going to get those scores? Is it now a case of we give it to the shooter, and the shooter is David Clifford?
This is the thing.
The way the game is going, that we've seen him go down to corner flags, down, and you'll see it next weekend, down underneath the Cusick, come all around the arc, go down underneath the Hogan, come back out, and it's for David to get possession, because I seen the game in Killarney last Saturday. A few times he went into that position for the 2-pointers, but he was so well covered, he had to play the ball off the field. It's as if the training is all built around getting him on the ball to shoot for 2-pointers. Is that a fair?
It is, but Tim, he's our star player. Like you don't starve him like we did against a Meath. We couldn't get the ball into him. Not to mind that he was double. Yeah,
I'm not saying to not have him there, but all I'm saying, I'm looking at the other teams that played over the last couple of weeks. They're sharing the load, their forwards.
They are, and I think that's where Paul Gainey is going to be a huge loss, because Paul was doing that inside with David. He was clocking up the scores as well. Are we asking more from Conor and Dylan the weekend? We are, and the likes of Killian Spillane, because they'll have to step up to the plate. And we're always on about even the National League here that have to, because teams will, like if you're the opposition manager, you are going to say, right, if we stop David, you have a great chance in being, but it's easier said than done if everybody rolls in around him and do their role, David will look after himself, because he is exceptional. You saw the strength of him the weekend with the goals. Like, if there was two fellas hanging off him, he's a powerful powerful man. And just on that, I just got a text that Tomas Kennedy played the second half of the game yesterday.
So that's interesting, and you'd wonder, that's one for, well, we'll have to wait until next, whatever, Friday night, I suppose, when that team, or Thursday night, when that team is named. John, no different to Liam's answer. Is yours the same, that if, he's a serious player, and you'd say if he doesn't score, where the score's coming from? We thought with these new rules that there'd be more forwards doing one-on-ones. It doesn't seem to be happening. Is that us, or because I watched the game the last day, and you were there behind me, on my back, and several times we came around the arc, and it gave a chance for Cavan to get bodies back. The transitioning, what's your take on it?
Yeah, it's you'd have to say, first of all, the movement of the two Gainies was very good the last day, in the first half in particular. They contributed to the space for David, because they were interchanging, but we need fast ball in, and that's where Paddy is going to come in, I think. Yeah. That's where Paddy is critical. I've often said it, and people will say after, you think is Paddy the only fella playing, but he's the heartbeat of our team. When he gets the ball in the half-back line midfield, he's looking up straight away. He's like all class players and exceptional players. He has the time on the ball. He looks up and he gives a diagonal ball with the outside of the boot right into the chest. Whether it is David, Shawnee Shea, Paul Gainey, whoever it is, you're on the advantage straight away. That link has been missing. We have the guys running from the fence, but we need that ball that's going to be first time, 40-yard pass. Like Andrew said, we spoke about off air. The middle of the field the last day, the outside of the left boot, from the middle of the field over towards the press box side. He took 4 Cavan players out of it with one kick. And there was an awe from the crowd. What an exceptional kick. But that's natural to Paddy. But we need to get the ball in, and we need more, the Gainies and whoever's there, whether it's Shawnee Shea, the two Gainies, David Clifford, we need that. We still kick 320. At the end of the day, what do we score? 320. Massive kicking. And, will we need that much next day? What type of a game will it be? Will it be open? Will it be a war of attrition? Will it be a dog-eat-dog? And if it is, it won't be a huge scoring game.
And Crow Park is a kicking field. Yeah. If we kick the ball the next day, I think we will have a great chance, because in the top 10 scorers in the championship at the moment, we have David Clifford number 1 and Shawnee Shays there. Armagh have no one.
No one. That leads us nice into the break.